I am an actress, but I want to be just a woman, a mother, myself. These words, written by Ingrid Bergman in her diary, seem to reflect her entire journey. A journey filled with resounding triumphs and painful losses, with love that both inspired and destroyed, and with art that became her refuge and salvation. This is the story of how a girl from Stockholm became a global cinema icon, how she endured scandals, rejected the glitter of Hollywood for the sake of freedom, and found her place in history. It is a story of love, pain, and the strength to stay true to oneself. The story of a woman who taught us that even a complicated life can be incredibly beautiful. On August 29th, 1915, as the morning sun gilded the rooftops of Stockholm, Ingrid Bergman was born. Her first breath was taken in a cozy neighborhood of the Swedish capital, where the beauty and tranquility of Scandinavian nature seemed to promise her protection from the storms that would soon engulf her life. But fate had no intention of being so merciful. Ingrid's father, Justice Samuel Bergman, was a man of art, a professional photographer. He had a gift for finding beauty in every moment. His tenderness and care created a warm, almost fairy tale world for young Ingrid, filled with light and creativity. It was Justice who first brought his daughter to the studio, making her smile in front of the camera as if she already knew her face would one day be seen by the entire world. While Justice embodied gentleness, Ingrid's mother, Frida Henrietta Adler, was the strict voice of reason. Frida's German roots brought order and discipline into the household. However, this union of opposites was not to last. When Ingrid was only 2 years old, the house grew silent. Her mother, Frida, passed away. After the loss of her mother, Justice Bergman took on the role of both father and mother to little Ingrid. As a photographer, he sought beauty in the world around him and captured in his pictures. Naturally, Ingrid became his favorite subject. Their family photo album was filled with images of a girl whose smile radiated light, but whose eyes held a deep, almost adult sorrow. Justice not only taught Ingrid to see the world through a camera lens, but also introduced her to the magic of cinema. In their small apartment, he would show her films where heroines showed on the screen, living lives filled with passion and drama. "You can do the same," he would tell her. And these words became the first spark of a dream for Ingrid. When Ingrid turned 12, fate dealt her another devastating blow. Justice fell ill and could no longer be the energetic mentor he once was. Ingrid spent the last year of his life by his side, caring for him with a remarkable resilience for someone her age. With his passing, Ingrid's world changed forever. Orphaned, she was faced with profound loneliness, but also gaining inner strength. "I must be strong" became her mantra, one she carried through with her entire life. After her father's death, Ingrid went to live with her aunt Elsa. Elsa was a woman of strict principles who believed a woman's role was limited to family responsibilities, not artistic pursuits. "You dream of acting? That's nonsense," she would say, dismissing Ingrid's attempts to share aspirations. But this didn't break the future actress. In her new home, Ingrid found solace in the mirror. There, alone with her reflection, she would spend hours rehearsing scenes from her favorite films. "My life will be different," she would whisper to her reflection. The stage of school theater productions became Ingrid's refuge. When she stepped onto the stage, the world disappeared, leaving only her and her role. Here, she could scream, cry, and laugh, everything her strict guardians forbade. Her talent was immediately recognized. Teachers and friends would say she had something special. But her performances were more than acting. They were her life. Each time Ingrid stepped onto the stage, she relived her wounds, her fears, and her loneliness, transforming them into a powerful energy that captivated her audience. The path to a dream. Despite her strict Aunt Elsa's objections, Ingrid decided to fight for her dream. Her journey began with admission to the Royal Dramatic Theatre School in Stockholm, a prestigious institution sought after by Sweden's most ambitious young talents. Imagine, a young woman with large, hopeful eyes stands before the stern admissions committee. Her voice trembles, but her gaze is steady. She knows she cannot afford to fail, for her future lies beyond these doors. The jury couldn't ignore her natural charm and extraordinary sincerity. Ingrid was accepted. But her time at the school was brief. After a year of study, she realized that theory was only part of the path. Real experience, on camera, on stage, that's what makes an actor. Determined, Ingrid left school to begin building her career. Ingrid made her film debut in 1934 with the movie Count Only the Happy Moments, marking her first step toward fame. Audiences instantly fell in love with her natural beauty, sincerity, and a warmth rarely seen on screen at the time. These feelings were mutual. Ingrid vividly remembered the moment she first saw her name on a movie theater poster. The little girl who'd once dreamed of this moment in front of a mirror had now made it a reality. Standing before the poster, holding back tears, she thought to herself, I am on the right path. A turning point for Ingrid came with the film Intermezzo, 1939. Hollywood noticed her after her role in the Swedish version of the film and offered her a contract. But the glamorous opportunity in the United States was not without challenges. Ingrid spoke little English, and the prospect of working in a foreign country with its strict rules and unfamiliar traditions was daunting. She recalled on her first night in Hollywood, she almost broke down in tears, terrified of failure. Instead, she stood up, looked in the mirror, and told herself, I must succeed. On the set of Intermezzo, she won everyone over. Director George Cukor was astounded by her ability to perform as if the camera didn't exist. Her calm confidence and talent for fully immersing herself in a role turned her into a star. When Ingrid arrived in Hollywood, studio executives immediately tried to transform her. Producers claimed she didn't look star-like enough. They suggested dyeing her hair, applying heavy makeup, and even altering her smile, but Ingrid stood firm. If audiences are gonna love me, they'll love the real me, she told a producer, whose rings sparkled in her reflection. This stance was bold, almost revolutionary for an era when actresses were molded into doll-like images to please the public. Her decision not only set her apart from others, but also made her a symbol of natural beauty. Her simplicity and self-assurance inspired millions of women, though it caused frustration within the studio system. Despite the resistance, Ingrid's authenticity became her defining trait, endearing her to audiences worldwide. Ingrid refused to play by Hollywood's rules and quickly became the focus of media attention. However, unlike many of her peers, she wasn't known for her scandalous affairs or extravagant behavior, but rather for her modesty and simplicity. Once, paparazzi spotted her at a small corner cafe. She sat alone without makeup, wearing an old sweater, eating ice cream, and smiling at a child at a nearby table. These photos circulated widely, portraying her as an actress who remained relatable, even at the height of fame. Yet her unpretentiousness irritated the glamorous Hollywood establishment. She consistently avoided glitzy parties, preferring to spend her evenings with a book or in quiet solitude. The press often turned her simplicity into fodder for controversy. Her style is a rebellion against the system. Red columns that fueled the tension between her and Hollywood's elite. But behind this glowing public image was a shadow. With each passing day, Ingrid felt that success was pulling her farther away from her true self. She wrote in her diary, Public Ingrid and real Ingrid are two different people. I am an actress, but I want to be just a woman, a mother, myself. Picture this moment. In the dressing room, after a long day on set, Ingrid removes her bright makeup and gazes at her reflection. The studio lights dim and what remains is just a woman, exhausted by the weight of the world's expectations. These were the moments when she realized the steep price of her success. A Hollywood icon. In 1942, Ingrid landed a role that would not only redefine her career, but also reshape cinematic history. Her character, Ilsa Lund, in the film Casablanca became the embodiment of love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between people. On set, Ingrid had no idea that her line, "We'll always have Paris,"
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris.
would become legendary. She focused on delivering the authenticity of her character's emotions and often doubted the outcome. Watching the film later in a theater, surrounded by an audience moved to tears and applause, she realized its magnitude. I didn't know we were making history, she admitted years later. Ingrid Bergman won the hearts of audiences with her natural sincerity. She didn't hide her Swedish accent, avoided artificial poses, and preferred to remain genuine. This set her apart from other Hollywood stars of the era. I wasn't perfect, and that was my strength, she said in an interview. Her authenticity on screen stood in stark contrast to the polished personas of Hollywood's leading stars, and audiences were drawn to her genuineness. She wasn't afraid to show emotions and vulnerability, making her feel closer and more relatable to her fans. After the success of Casablanca, Ingrid continued to conquer the film industry, showcasing her versatility. In 1945, she portrayed a nun in The Bells of St. Mary's. Her character was strong, kind, and sincere, earning Ingrid an Academy Award nomination. One of the most poignant scenes, where her character helps a young boy believe in himself, moved even the harshest critics to tears. She didn't just act, she lived the emotions on screen. In 1946, Ingrid teamed up with Alfred Hitchcock for the thriller Notorious. The director was astounded by her ability to convey tension and emotion in every frame. In one of the film's most memorable scenes, featuring a poisoned glass of champagne, Ingrid used nothing but her expression to depict the desperate fight for survival. This performance solidified her reputation as an actress capable of delivering profoundly dramatic roles. Ingrid Bergman was Alfred Hitchcock's muse, starring in 3 of his films, including Under Capricorn, 1949. The director admired her talent for expressing complex emotions without uttering a word. Ingrid speaks with her eyes what others try to express in entire monologues, he once said. Their collaborations were not only professional triumphs, but also challenging experiences for the actress. Hitchcock's notorious perfectionism demanded much from Ingrid, yet she fearlessly delved into the darkest corners of human emotion. Her performances didn't just portray characters, they exposed raw feelings of fear, pain, and passion, leaving an indelible mark on her audience. Before her Italian period, in 1944, Ingrid won her first Oscar for her role in the psychological drama Gaslight. Her character, a woman subjected to manipulation and gaslighting, deeply moved audiences with a performance that balanced vulnerability and inner strength. At the awards ceremony, holding the statuette with trembling hands, Ingrid said with heartfelt emotion, "Thank you for believing in me as I am." This moment became a testament to her talent, which transcended the conventions and expectations of her era. Ingrid's personal life. In 1937, Ingrid married Swedish dentist Petter Lidström. Their union became an oasis of stability at the start of her rapidly ascending career. A year later, they welcomed their daughter, Pia. On the surface, Ingrid's life appeared harmonious, a caring husband, a loving mother, and a flourishing career. But this idyllic image was fragile. Her career soon pulled her away from the comforts of home. Long shoots, constant travel, and a demanding schedule created barriers between her husband, and her daughter. Young Pia would plead with her mother to stay home, but Ingrid, holding back tears, would pack her suitcase again. This growing distance eroded their family bond, leaving Ingrid with a deep sense of guilt. In 1949, while filming Stromboli, Ingrid met Italian director Roberto Rossellini. Their attraction was immediate and intense. Both were married at the time, but their passion proved stronger than societal conventions, leading to one of the most talked about romances in cinema history. America, which had once celebrated Ingrid as a paragon of virtue, turned its back on her. She was branded an immoral woman. Her films were boycotted and the press savaged her reputation. One headline read, "Saint Ingrid falls to earth." Ingrid sat alone in her hotel room reading the newspaper. She realized that in a single moment, she had lost Hollywood, her career and public admiration. Her decision to emigrate to Europe became an unavoidable step in reclaiming her life and art. In 1950, Ingrid married Roberto Rossellini, and together they had 3 children, Roberto Jr. and twins Isabella and Isotta. On the surface, it seemed like a new chapter of happiness. Ingrid embraced motherhood, finding joy in simple family moments. However, their marriage was tumultuous. Rossellini had a fiery temper, and their relationship was often fraught with jealousy, arguments, and misunderstandings. Ingrid tried to hold the family together, convincing herself that these were temporary struggles. But the years proved otherwise. During one particularly heated conflict, Ingrid felt the love she had sacrificed everything for slipping away. Looking at their children, she wondered, will I ever truly be happy again? After her passionate romance and marriage to Rossellini, Ingrid faced a new wave of trials. Their collaborative films such as Europe 51, though artistically bold, failed to resonate with audiences. The public, accustomed to seeing Ingrid as a heroine of purity and grace, rejected her new, more complex and morally ambiguous roles. The premieres of their films often played to a half-empty theater. Once adored by millions, Ingrid felt her star dimming. She recalled a poignant moment, sitting in a darkened theater watching one of her films, surrounded by only a handful of indifferent viewers. It was a bitter realization that she had lost the audience that once idolized her. Financial troubles compounded by her struggles, Rossellini, consumed by ambitious but unprofitable projects, left the family on the brink of financial ruin. Ingrid felt as though her life had become an unrelenting storm. In 1957, after a series of infidelities and relentless conflicts, Ingrid and Roberto's marriage fell apart. For Ingrid, it was another painful blow, but she knew it was inevitable. The hardest moment came when she had to talk to their children. Gathering all her strength, she tried to explain to the twins and little Roberto Jr. that their father would no longer live with them. Afterwards, she locked herself in her room and finally allowed herself to cry. These were tears of disappointment, pain, and fear of starting over. After all the turmoil, Ingrid resolved to reclaim her place in the world. Her return to Hollywood began with her role in Anastasia, 1956, where she played a woman searching for her identity, a role that symbolized her own journey. The film's premiere marked a triumphant comeback. At the Academy Awards ceremony, As she accepted her second Oscar, Ingrid expressed heartfelt gratitude to those who believed in her despite her mistakes. Her voice trembled and her eyes glistened with tears. It was a moment of redemption where the world finally forgave her, and she began to forgive herself. Among all her struggles, her estrangement from her daughter Pia, from her first marriage, weighed most heavily on Ingrid. Years of distance and mutual resentment had created a chasm between them, but eventually Ingrid was able to bridge it. Their first meeting after the long separation was filled with emotion. Pia, now a grown woman, embraced her mother and broke into tears. Ingrid whispered words of apology, and Pia replied, "I never stopped loving you." This long-awaited forgiveness was a moment of true reconciliation with her past. In 1974, Ingrid was diagnosed with breast cancer. The news was a heavy blow, but she refused to let the illness rob her of the things she loved. Ingrid underwent numerous surgeries and rounds of chemotherapy, but never complained. Her letters to friends during this difficult time reveal her inner world. "I am not afraid of death," she wrote, "but I am afraid of leaving my loved ones behind." These words reflect that even when faced with the inevitable, Ingrid thought more of those she loved than of herself. Until the very end, she remained a symbol of resilience and devotion to her craft. Her battle with her illness and her determination to create despite the pain became the final movements of the great symphony of her life, a symphony that continues to resonate. Ingrid Bergman never gave up her love for art, even when her health faltered. In 1982, she took on her final major role in the miniseries, A Woman Called Golda, for which she received critical acclaim and another Emmy Award. Despite doctors urging her to rest, Ingrid stepped onto the set. Physically frail but spiritually strong, she uttered words that became the essence of her life. "I live while I act." These were not just words, but her credo, a reflection of the passion that carried her through every trial. In her final years, Ingrid spent much of her time surrounded by her closest loved ones. She developed a particularly strong bond with her daughter Isabella, who frequently accompanied and supported her through her challenges. During one family gathering, Ingrid cooked dinner as she had in earlier times, sharing stories from her youth with her children. Smiling despite her weariness, she said, "I made mistakes, but I loved you more than anything." These words stayed with her children as a testament to her boundless love for them. Ingrid Bergman passed away on August 29, 1982, her 67th birthday, in London. She was surrounded by her children and closest family. In her final moments, her daughter Isabella held her hand and whispered, "We will always be with you." Later, Isabella recalled, "She left us as beautifully as she lived." These parting words became a cherished memory for her family, a testament to the grace with which Ingrid approached life and death. According to her wishes, Ingrid's ashes were scattered over the Swedish coastline near her birthplace of Stockholm. This farewell symbolized a return to her roots, to the land where her journey began. On that coastline, a cool wind carried her ashes over the water, reflecting the freedom she had sought throughout her life. The scene of the gray sky and endless sea served as the final brushstroke in her story, a symbol of how she remained true to herself, strong, sincere, and free.